Welcome to I and an Ox 2, another in a series of videos exploring the secrets in William Shakespeare's First Folio. It wasn't just the compositor, editor, and printer of the First Folio who provided clues as to the real identity of the playwright. He did so himself in plays such as The Merry Wives in Windsor, and in particular, this page. Page number 59 in the First Folio's comedy section is misnumbered as page 51. That's to draw your attention to this exchange near the bottom of the right-hand column. Falstaff says, "I do begin to perceive that I am made an ass." And Ford retorts, "I and an ox too. Both the proofs are extant." This is after Falstaff has been tricked and horribly abused. But what does this sentence really mean? And in particular, why does he call him an ox? After watching Alexander Woe's presentation on a puzzle in Richard II in the First Folio, in which he discovers some equations using letters as numbers, I got to thinking about this line. And what I found was a hidden equation. Let's assume that Ford is a homophone of 40, because you can separate Ford into 4 and D. What does that make the uppercase I, the uppercase O in ox, the word to, and the word proofs? Quite simply, the uppercase I is the Roman numeral for 1, and is a synonym for addition, and the uppercase O in ox is 0, followed by a homophone of 2. But he's explicit here in that he says both proofs are extant, meaning there are 2 puzzles. Proofs itself is a term for math, which describes proper solutions to equations. The fact that they are extant means they exist here in this line. After a bit of thinking, which really doesn't take much, here is the equation: 40 plus 1 plus 0 plus 2. Well, that's easy to figure out. The result is 43. However, what is the significance of the number 43? Well, it has 2 significant features. The Latin alphabet repeated count value of 43 is VV. And the number helps put the play into context by dating the final revision of the play. According to the website Dating Shakespeare, it is only possible to establish the date range for each play. The evidence to fix a precise date on any particular play is simply lacking. This is the main page, dating Shakespeare's plays. And the editor of the book that accompanies the website, it was Kevin Gilvary. He and his team of scholars actually decided to compare all the possible dates, and they came up with the following. They estimate that the Merry Wives of Windsor, the earliest time it could have been written was 1588, and the latest time would have been 1602 for the final revision. And that's based on the fact that the first quarto of Merry Wives of Windsor was published in that date. Now, remember, we have the latest revision was possible in 1593, according to these scholars. But we're going to go on a little short diversion. This is the title page for the first quarto of Merry Wives of Windsor. Notice the headpiece ornament. It's got two stylized letter A's. The first one looks like it's in the light. The one on the right looks like it's in shadow. That suggests we have something seen and something hidden on the page. Now, in a very obscure little book, this is explained. In The Secret History of Francis Bacon by A. Dodd, written in 1942, the author says, the light and dark shading of the AAs earmark the book as one that contains in the shadow more than is openly revealed. They are designed in the form of ladders or a winding staircase, a Masonic symbol. Now let's go to the very first speech in the quarto. And we compare it to the very first speech in the First Folio edition of it. As you can see, there are significant differences between the two. In the First Folio, Shallow says, Sir Hugh, persuade me not, I will make a Star Chamber matter of it. If he were 20 Sir John Falstaffs, he shall not abuse Robert Shallow, Esquire. But in the first quarto, he says, Ne'er talk to me, I'll make a Star Chamber matter of it. The council shall know it. This is proof of an extensive revision of the play. So remember this sum, and that the latest revision was in 1593. Presenting the strongest candidate for the authorship of William Shakespeare's plays and poems. Edward de Vere, the 17th Earl of Oxford. His dates are 1550 to 1604. But what does this have to do with 1593 and the latest possible version of The Merry Wives of Windsor before publication? Well, it goes right back to this number. He was 43 in 1593. For skeptics, I present more evidence straight from the folio. Page number 50 in The Merry Wives of Windsor, or actually the comedy section, is misnumbered 58. And on line 28, Mistress Ford says, "Ay, your lady, Sir John. Alas, I should be a pitiful lady." As you can see in the red box, we have something similar to what we've seen in the line I and an ox too. The uppercase I's become Roman numerals for one, and Mistress Ford's name is again a homophone for the number 40. On the next page, on line 37, Ford says this: I, comma, I, colon, I must bear it, period, in which all of the I's are the uppercase letter. Looks familiar? Well, it is. Furthermore, this little line has exactly 17 characters. Now we have an example of tria sunt omnia, or 3 is all, in which a repetition of anything by 3 suggests or indicates a profound truth is being expressed or hidden underneath the text. Two of these puzzles are on misnumbered pages. Page 59 is misnumbered as page 51. Page 50 is misnumbered page 58. So, if we add the misnumbered page numbers to what they are supposed to be, we get the following: 59 plus 58 plus 51 plus 50. And that gives us 218. But as per one of the guidelines and the rules of thumb in the video, The Easy Peasy Way to Tell Secrets, we subtract things that are different. So, we can subtract the sum of these three homophones because they are the speaking cues for the characters, not the lines. And if you subtract 120 from 218, you get 98. And of course, 9 plus 8 is 17. Can this be a mere coincidence? Well, we can also do this simple math. Add up all these numbers and homophones to the right of the speaking cues, and you get 9. And then we add the number of words they are located in, 8. Is the sum of 17 another coincidence? Back to the beginning. The number 20 is the 17th word in Roman letters. compositor made sure that readers see chamber as a separate word. Unlike what the other compositor did in the first quarto, in which chamber is with a lowercase c. He also made sure that the gematria values for the Roman numbers add to 17. They are the letters that touch the decorative initial S. The gematria values of the first two italic uppercase letters also add to 17. This gives us another example of tria sunt omnia. Furthermore, there are 17 words in the first speech from the quarto edition, the very first quarto edition of the Merry Wives of Windsor. Like everything in life, in particular real estate, a lot of things depend on location, location, location. Act 1, Scene 1 contains the first numerical allusions to De Vere. Act 4, Scene 4 contains 2 more. And Act 5, Scene 5 gives us another one. These are all numerical allusions, in which the last 3 are what I call numbergrams, where they're combinations of homophones and uppercase letters, and sometimes even the actual numbers or words for the numbers. So when you add up these numbers together, you get 20. Is this the result of another coincidence? Now, we continue to go and examine the number 43. If the latest revision was in 1593, it was also the first time the name Shakespeare appeared in print in the dedication to Venus and Adonis. And of course, De Vere was 43 in 1593. But here's the question. What was he doing at age 20? He was engaged to Anne Cecil, who was originally a commoner, just like the character of Anne Page. We can say, therefore, that she is portrayed as Anne Page as revealed in Act 5, Scene 5. Notice the repetition of the number again. It's a doubling. Caius says, "Vere is Mistress Page." Therefore, one of De Vere's foils is Fenton, and here is how the host describes him. "What say you to young Master Fenton? He capers, he dances, he has eyes of youth, he writes verses, he speaks holiday, he smells April and May. He will carry it, 'tis in his buttons, he will carry it." That's found in Act 3, Scene 2, by the way. Well, De Vere was known as an accomplished dancer, and infamously, he refused to dance for the Queen when the Duke of Alençon was in England during his marriage negotiations with Queen Elizabeth herself. She was so angry she banished him from court for a while. He writes verses. Well, De Vere was known as an accomplished versifier by people such as Arthur Peacham and William Covell and all sorts of other contemporaries. But what about He Smells April and May? Those are specific months. They are also months that are important in De Vere's life, beginning with April. De Vere was born April 12th, 1550. And as for May, he was licensed to enter his lands on May 30th, 1572. Now, in the play, Fenton, the only noble, ends up marrying Anne Page/Cecil. And in real life, De Vere's rival for her hand was Sir Philip Sidney, who was satirized as slender. Sidney's uncle was Robert Dudley, the Earl of Leicester. He was also satirized in the play as Justice Shallow. And his father was William Cecil. He was more favorably portrayed as Mr. Page. De Vere is also Mr. Ford and is therefore also Mrs. Ford. De Vere's third foil is Falstaff, and according to Robert Brazil in Unpacking the Merry Wives of Windsor, he says, no single character in Merry Wives is exclusively Oxford. As a suitor, he is Fenton. As a jealous husband, he is Ford/Brooke. And as a weary philosopher in Bawd, he speaks as Falstaff. The character of Caius was based on Dr. John Caius, who lived from 1510 to 1573. He taught at Cambridge while De Vere was studying there. Caius is only one of two characters given a real name, or based on a real name. The other is Hugh Evans, based on Henry Evans, the Welsh manager of the Children of Paul's troupe, patronized by De Vere. Ten characters in The Merry Wives of Windsor can be matched to De Vere or someone in De Vere's life. 5 of the real people were known to him by the time he was 20. And courting Anne Cecil/Page. So what De Vere did was extremely clever. He bookended his play, alluding to 2 significant years in his life. 1570, when the marriage negotiations were coming to fruition, and 1593, the year that he finalized The Merry Wives of Windsor, according to the dating Shakespeare scholars, and it was the first time William Shakespeare appeared in print in the dedication to Venus and Adonis. Yet there is more in this line. Why does it say both the proofs? What is the second puzzle? Well, I believe it hides in the first clause and not here. It wouldn't make sense to say both proofs are extant and include that clause in the puzzle scheme. What I believe we've got here is an anagram. Here are some solutions. 1, I, Oxford, and an E2. Number 2, I, Oxenford, and at OO. Number 3, I, Oxenford, and O toad. Number 4, I, Oxenford, on a toad. The first one makes kind of sense because he's saying I, Oxford, and an Earl too. The E stands for Earl. But number 4 is pretty funny. And it may be the correct one based on the Aesop fable. The ox and the toad, in which an upstart toad tries to inflate himself to the size of an ox and explodes in the attempt. But who could the toad be? In the context of the play, it could be his rival, Slender, also known as Sir Philip Sidney, who was nearly broke and saw Anne marry his chief rival. There was one more thing about this line, having to do with this exchange. If Falstaff is a foil for De Vere, and he is made an ass, he would also be an ox, or Oxford. To me, this clarifies the meaning of the line perfectly. This is not a matter for speculation, because 10 characters can be matched to De Vere or someone in De Vere's life. Anne Page's father needed to be given a title so that Fenton would not marry below his station, just as William Cecil was given the title Lord Merley by Queen Elizabeth I so his daughter would be able to marry De Vere. This put Sir Philip Sidney Slender and his uncle Shallow in a box. Later on in their marriage, De Vere accused Anne of being unfaithful after she bore him their first daughter, Elizabeth, while he was in Italy. This is exactly like the jealousy subplot with Mr. Ford/Brooke. Slender, after all was said and done, was effectively shut out of Anne's life after Fenton's proposal was approved, just as Sidney was shut out of Anne's life after Queen Elizabeth approved the marriage between Anne Cecil and De Vere. Falstaff represents De Vere's wild side when he was a youth who often got into deep trouble while sowing his oats. That's the subject for another video. The bed trick played on Ford was actually done to De Vere to get him to reconcile with his wife, which he, of course, did. No other playwright shares such a close affinity with these principal characters in The Merry Wives of Windsor and their plots as De Vere. Therefore, De Vere was alluding to his courtship of Anne Cecil when he was 20 in the first line of the play as rewritten for the First Folio. And alluding to the year in which the play was completed when he was 43. In Act 4, Scene 4 and Act 5, Scene 5. This is where we see Tria sunt omnia twice, beautifully. This puts a different slant on a line from Sonnet 72, which I will read. "Oh, lest the world should task you to recite what merit lived in me that you should love after my death, dear love. Forget me quite, for you in me can nothing worthy prove, unless you would devise some virtuous lie to do more for me than mine own desert, and hang more praise upon deceased I, than niggard truth would willingly impart. O lest your true love may seem false in this, that you for love speak well of me untrue, my name be buried where my body is, and live no more to shame nor me nor you. For I am shamed by that which I bring forth, and so should you, to love things nothing worth." The line is this: "My name be buried where my body is." It's infamous, and it's line 11 in which he allegedly nullifies himself. Notice the repetition of the 1. 1, 1 is 11. This is another reason why in the 1609 quarto of the sonnets they used Hindu/Arabic numerals to identify the sonnets. First, so that it was easy for people to add and subtract numbers, because that's one of the things you do in this game. Secondly, so people identify doubled numbers. His name becomes a metaphor for his life story, and his body is his life's work, the poems and plays. Now we can see how connected his sonnets are to his plays. And as if this is not enough, the W in will, in the very first line in the play, in the First Folio, is the 17th Roman letter in the line. And of course, 20 is the 17th word with Roman letters in the speech. There is one last point which must be made about these numbers. Gematria and LARC values are B for 20 and VV for 43, respectively. So what this means is that the playwright himself is saying, Edward de Vere, the 17th Earl of Oxford, was Shakespeare. Thanks for watching. Stay safe, everybody. There's another wave coming.